Hello and welcome to the KUIT webinar. It is Happy Halloween and we are talking about using Voicethread for instructors today. Let's see. I'm going to need to get my PowerPoint going. So my name is Janine Meston. I work with the Educational Technology Group. We support faculty, also students and staff using technology tools at KU, primarily Blackboard, but also Voicethread, Respondus, SoftChalk, etc. And I'm joined today by Karen Burke, who's with our Technology Instruction and Engagement Group. He's going to be manning the chat and making sure that everything's going smoothly. We are recording the session today, and once that gets ready, we'll be uploading it to the YouTube site. And I'll also be following up to send you a link to that recording if that's useful. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Zoom tools. So on this screen, you'll see the tools in your Zoom environment screen. The mute on the left is for the microphone and the video. In the upper right, you have choices for expanding the window and which screen is largest. I'm not going to be doing video of myself. I'm just going to be presenting the screen so I can move back and forth between the PowerPoint and Voicethread environment and also Blackboard. And then down at the bottom center of your screen, you'll see links for chat and participants. The chat is the speech balloon icon, and that'll open up a panel so that you can see anything that's posted in the chat window. I actually started out by posting a link to a video if you scroll to the very top of the chat, and that's something that you can watch at any time. If you want to, it's just a little intro video to Voicethread, kind of demonstrating what it looks like. And then the participants link in the bottom center, if you click on that, there are some nonverbal feedback buttons. I'm not going to be using these very much in my webinar, but if you want to give us feedback this way, you certainly can. I would recommend using the chat window. I think that's probably the best way to interact. So I'm going to go over what we'll cover today. So I want to give you a Voicethread introduction. If you've never heard of it, if you've heard of it but didn't know what it was, maybe you've seen it once or twice, I'd be happy to explain how it's used and what it is. We'll go over how to create a Voicethread, kind of some basic steps. Commenting is a big part of Voicethread, so I'll demonstrate that and show you how you and/or students can add comments within a Voicethread. We'll talk about sharing Voicethreads with Blackboard. That's one of the advantages of our systems, that Voicethread is integrated to our Blackboard system. I'll show you how to create what's called a Voicethread assignment. So Voicethread is set up to allow you to have graded activities for students. And we'll talk about where to get support for instructors or for students. And we'll have some time for questions as well. So what is Voicethread? Voicethread is an online environment, and it's for sharing media content. And that's a really big, kind of vague explanation, but you can share any combination of media items, a document, an image, a video file, a PowerPoint deck. You can put all those together inside what's called a Voicethread. And then you can share it with students, and you can add comments, which from the instructor might be like lecture. Comments might be for the student to ask questions or to introduce themselves. And as I mentioned, Voicethread at KU is integrated with Blackboard, and that makes it easy for instructors to link students with Voicethread, or like I mentioned, have gradable activities in Voicethread where the grade then comes through to the Blackboard Grade Center. So instructional uses of Voicethread would be, you could use it for flipping the class. You could take the lecture material and structure it in a Voicethread so students would see that, watch that, and hear your lecture comments. before they came to class. It could also be used in an online class where students are asked to use audio comments or video comments so that the instructor and their classmate get a more vivid impression of them than just text comments in a discussion board forum, for example. Let's see here. So I want to show you how to create a voice thread. And I'm going to suggest that you start at the KU Voicethread portal, which is ku.voicethread.com. And that's different from the Voicethread corporate portal, which would start just www.voicethread.com. So we're going to go to the KU portal because that way you can sign in with your KU online ID, and that way that maximizes the integration with Blackboard if you choose to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my Voicethread window. And I'm going to change my view. And when you're ready to create a voice thread, it's in the upper left. Click on the Create button. And then it's a pretty blank screen. It says Add Media. So you have some choices here. You can, I think most common, people upload documents that they have saved on their computer, but you do have some other options as well. And if you mouse over and click on Add Media, you can see you can pull files from your computer, you can go out to the web, you can start recording. So if you just wanted to make a quick audio or webcam recording, you could just do it right here when you create a voice thread. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and pull from my files. And I'm just going to take one Word document and an image file and a video file, and I'm going to put them all in. And you can also drag your files if you have your file window open. So the files are uploading to the VoiceThread, and right now it wants me to give it a name. So I'm going to call it this and save. And you can see that my documents come up and my image file has come up, and this one is still working. That's a video file. So it is going to take an extra minute to process because that file's larger. And then, oh, it's finished already. So now I can see the thumbnail showing. Once you have your thumbnails, you can rearrange the items in the VoiceThread. And let's see. And then the other option would be, probably the next step would be to go ahead and comment. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my slides. So I used an image, a Word document, and a video. You can also create a voice thread with a PowerPoint deck. So if you are comfortable with a lecture that's in a PowerPoint format, you could go ahead and throw that into a voice thread and then add audio comments. So commenting is the next logical step. And when you add a comment in VoiceThread, you have a bunch of options for how that comment will be added. And this icon here is what you'll see for all those choices. So you could type in a text comment. You could call in with a cell phone. So this would be especially, I would say, for students or participants who maybe they weren't at their computer and they needed to connect to add a comment. They could call in with their phone. This is the audio comment icon, and this is the webcam icon, and this is a file upload. So I'm going to go back to VoiceThread, and let's see, let me get to my home view. So I'm going to select the VoiceThread that I just created, and when I'm ready to add a comment, I go to the bottom center of the screen, and I see the plus. It says make a comment. When I click on it, I get my choices, and I'm going to choose the audio commenting, and I'll show you how that works. So this is an audio comment, and I have the option to use drawing tools when I record doing audio or webcam. So as soon as I click the stop recording button, it uploads and plays back. All right, and then I have the chance to save it if I like the comment, or throw it away and do something else. So it's a really easy way to say, oh, I didn't like that one, but I'm going to immediately re-record. So I'm going to save this one. And now I know that my comment is here because my initials show up. And if I click on it, it'll play. So I'm inside the Voicethread right now. This is my first slide. When you're inside a Voicethread, you can use the arrows on the lower right to advance to the next slide. And this is a video. It starts auto playing as soon as I get to that slide. So that's something else to know about Voicethread. So let's see, and that video countdown that you saw, that happens with video recording as well. It's very similar as to audio. And you get the chance to keep the comment that you just recorded and saw played back, or toss it and try again. So I want to show you how to share a Voicethread in a Blackboard course. And because Voicethread is integrated, it's actually considered a tool. We have an LTI connection in our Blackboard system, and it appears on the Build Content menu when you're in a course in a content area. And the basic steps are to create a Voicethread link. So when you choose Build Content Voicethread, that creates a link and you give it a name. And then there's a second step to it. So you create the link and then you click on the link that you just created, and that's where you decide, you tell Blackboard what students are going to see in Voicethread, and you have several possibilities. So I'm going to show you that in my Voicethread course, in my Blackboard course. And I'm going to go to a content area. So any area where you see the Build Content menu will work. And I have a folder set up, so I'll enter my folder. And when I put the cursor on the Build Content menu, Voicethread shows up as the last item on the left column. So I'm going to create my link. When I scroll down, I have some options that, as most things in Blackboard do, I could add text in the description text box. For a Voicethread link, I could make it gradable. I'm not going to choose that option for this one, but I will show you that later. And then there are the normal display options for students. So the default is to let them see it immediately. That's what I want. So I'm going to click on Submit to create the Voicethread link. And there it is. And now it's time for the second part. I'm going to click on the Voicethread link to set what students will have access to when they click this link. So this engages Voicethread, and you'll see that page that just flickered momentarily. You don't have to do anything when you see that icon. Just wait for it to get to the Voicethread screen. And now you can see this is the Voicethread environment, and then it's within the frame of the Blackboard course. So I've clicked on my link, and now I have three choices. So I could go to the course view. I could send students to the course view. So that would be any Voicethread that's shared with this class. I could send them to the Voicethread home, or I could send them to a specific individual Voicethread. That last one's what I want to choose because I want them to see this Voicethread I just created. And now it gives me the choices of my Voicethread. I'm going to select this one. And in the lower right corner, share with class. Okay, and then I get my confirmation message. And now I want to go back to the Blackboard content page to make sure that it's appearing correctly for students. So it's a little bit mysterious to see how to get back. You don't have a left menu in this view. You're still in the Voicethread environment. But this gray bar at the top, this frame, is a way you can get back to the Blackboard course. So I'm going to click on the Voicethread presentations in the gray bar to return. And now I'm back in the Blackboard environment. So now when I click on this link, just like students, it should bring up that one specific Voicethread. So it launches Voicethread. Again, you don't have to do anything in that stage. And it's started. It's brought up my specific Voicethread, and I click on the big triangle to start it. So that's working. Okay. So another option when you are creating a link in a Blackboard course is to create a Voicethread assignment. So a Voicethread assignment is a gradable item, and they've set up 3 possibilities where you can ask students to watch a particular Voicethread. You can ask them to submit 1 or more comments. You can pick a number. And you can ask them to post their own Voicethread. So there are a lot of possibilities with that. When you want to use a Voicethread assignment, you want to select yes for enable evaluation. That means it's graded when you create that link in Blackboard. And once that's done, it will ask you the points possible. That'll go into your Blackboard Grade Center. It'll create the column. And then when you grade the item, it'll be graded in the Voicethread environment, and that will come through to Blackboard. So another thing about Voicethread assignments, this is something that foreign language instructors might use. For example, have students record themselves, either audio or video, and post that. And that might be something that the instructor wants to see, but it's not to be shared with the class. In that case, the instructor could turn on the moderation setting, and that way the recording would come through, the instructor would see it, but it wouldn't be released to the rest of the class unless the instructor took some action. So I'm going to demonstrate how to set up a Voicethread assignment. So in this case, it's the same steps as we started with, but we have to be sure that it's with grading selected. So build content, Voicethread. And then when I scroll down on the settings page, I can add instructions in the text box. And I want to be sure and choose for grading, enable evaluation, yes. And then it wants to know the points possible. So I'm going to enter the points possible and click submit. So whenever you're creating a Voicethread link in Blackboard, there's 2 parts. You create the link, and then you click on the link to set what students will be directed to when they click on it. So in this case, I'm going to see another choice. So when I click on this link to activate it, instead of 3 choices in the Voicethread environment, I see 4 choices. So the new one here is Assignment Builder. So that doesn't show up unless you have that enabled grading and have entered the points possible. So that's the one I want. I want students to add a comment to the Voicethread. I'm going to click this option, have them submit a comment. I'm going to choose the same Voicethread, or you could also, so. And then there's some other settings here. Here's the number of comments required. So if I wanted them to add 3 comments, I could do that. So depending on the length of the Voicethread and how many comments you want to look at from them. So when I'm ready, I can click on Create Assignment. If I'm not ready for the students to see it, I could uncheck this and share with class. Also by default, students can resubmit the assignment. So they could replace their initial comment. If you want to allow them to do that, you keep it checked. If you don't want to allow them to do that, you'd uncheck it. I'm going to click to create it. And again, I'm stuck in the Voicethread environment. I want to go back to Blackboard. I'm going to click on the link in the gray bar at the top. So when you have students completing a VoiceThread assignment, you're going to see their work in the VoiceThread environment. So you could click on this link to go to that particular VoiceThread, and you could see which students have completed it and which students have yet to complete it. And you can watch or listen to their comments. You could look at their VoiceThreads if you had them create a VoiceThread. And then you can grade, and you can grade in the VoiceThread environment. And that's just a little bit different. It's set to, by default, it's a percentage. So I've set this assignment to 10 points in Blackboard. When I grade it in the VoiceThread environment, I'm going to give each student a percentage. That's how it's set. That way they figured it would be the most flexible. You can grade the percentage and it will work with any points possible that are entered in Blackboard. So if I want to give them full marks, I would give them 100%. If I want to give them less than full marks, I'd work out the percentage. And I'm going to move to another folder where I can show you what it looks like to have a assignment that needs to be graded in VoiceThread. So I click on the link, and it will slowly pull up the VoiceThread. Okay, and so this is the title and description of the VoiceThread assignment. And then on the right-hand column, it's the students. I don't have any other students waiting, but if I had other students who hadn't completed it, they would be in this lower portion of the list. I have one student who has completed it. They're showing up here. If I click on their name, I'll see, and the comment just starts playing automatically. So, and this is where I can add the grade. So over here, it's a little bit, well, when you mouse over the student's name and slide to the right, that 0 is the grade. And I'm going to go ahead and type in this student successfully added a comment. And it gives me a confirmation message. It's got my percentage there. I can move it up and down if I want to. Okay. And that percentage will come through back to the Blackboard Grade Center in the column for that VoiceThread assignment. So we have a couple of different suggestions as far as getting support for yourself or for students. If instructors and students have questions about logging into VoiceThread, accessing it with their KU Online ID, we would recommend contacting the IT Customer Service Center. They can help with those. If instructors have questions about teaching with VoiceThread, please contact the educational technologists. You can contact us in Lawrence or on the Edwards campus. And we have an online resource. We've got a web page with some tips and recommendations for getting started and using VoiceThread. It also links back to VoiceThread's instructor documentation and resources. They have some nice links, examples, and kind of step-by-step photos and recommendations for instructors. So we could point you to those. And we can also help set up a practice course if you want to try using VoiceThread in a Blackboard course to make sure you have that connection down. We'd be happy to help you with that as well. We do have time for questions. We're happy to answer questions right now. You can unmute your microphone if you want to ask questions or type into the chat. If you decide you have some questions later, I will be following up with a link to the recording and links to these resources as well. So please let me know if you have questions about using VoiceThread. And this is the end of the content here. I really appreciate you attending on a Halloweeny Wednesday, and I will follow up with that link. Like I said, if you some other questions burble up in the meantime, just let me know at that time. Thanks again.